A blanket stitch is something every quilter wants. Stitch number 1329 and 1330 are blanket stitches built into your machine. So as we pick them, 1329, one thing that I like to do is I like to actually set this up so the needle position is actually in the far right needle position. Now once you go ahead and move that all the way over, you'll be able to use the inside of the open toe foot as a guide. Now to be able to save that as a setting that always comes up, touch OK, and that will memorize that setting. Now if you like it a little bit wider or a little longer, you also could set that and touch OK, and it will remember that. That means once you turn it off and then turn it back on and come back to the stitch, it's right where you left it. Love that. So let's go ahead and play with this stitch a little bit. Once you start this again, line up on the inside of the right toe, and we'll zoom in here so you can see. There we go. Now, part of this stitch is actually learning the rhythm, that it goes forward and then it jumps in for a bite. Now, as it jumps in, you want to stop with the needle in the down position. So I'm going to go ahead and set that. So now every time I stop, I can use it will stop. Now if you stop on the inside, you don't want to pivot here because that's going to open up that little stitch that came in. You want to wait till you're on the outside edge for pivoting. You use your presser foot lifter. It just doesn't work for me right here where the camera is, but I use that all the time. Then that way my hands are always on my fabric, easily adjusting as I go. Now, usually people will just tend to turn this really, really fast, which is okay. But look, as I get to a sharper curve, that's not really going to be conducive. You're going to need to stop and actually make that little pivot point. Another thing for size in this, stitch width and length, it does kind of need to be in proportion to the item you're going around. So if you're going around something really small, like a little berry, you're going to want to adjust this down maybe for a stitch length of 1.5 and a stitch width of 1.5. I tend to keep this nice and proportioned. The width is the same as the length. Kind of keeps it like a little box going around here. Okay, here's where we need to start. Practically every time I take a stitch, do a little pivot, and so you keep those little bites perfectly perpendicular to the edge of your fabric there. All right, so as we keep on going. Now, if I switch over to stitch number 1330, okay, and I'm going to move that needle position once again. Touch OK. So that's actually part of my memory here. Now this stitch is going to provide us with a much heavier looking blanket stitch. Now the only thing here is you really do need to kind of watch. You don't want to actually do any pivoting when it's in that backward swing as it's going back and forth. So again, find the little dance that it does, in, out, and then forward, back, and then down. So again, find where you want to do the pivoting. It's right before it either starts going forward or right after it ends. That's when you can pivot, and then you can work your way around. Let me show you what this is going to look like here. Okay, once you're done, you can go ahead and pull that out, and we have a nice, beautiful, thicker blanket stitch as we go around. Now just a note about a blanket stitch, because this is a raw edge, over time this is something that isn't probably going to stay as pretty. So keep in mind that if you're doing raw edge applique with this stitch, do it on something that's not going to get washed on a daily basis. That might be for a child. But if it's something decorative, it's seasonal, it's out once a year, no big deal. You don't have to worry about turning under those edges. But if it is going to be something for an item, again, that's going to be washed heavily, I would take the time to do one of the techniques where you end up turning these edges under so there's no raw edge. It is a finished edge, and then still do this stitch all the way around it. It'll still look really pretty, but it will last the test of time.